It's time for the Kim Hammer Show, where you'll learn how your state government affects you, your family, and community. Here's Kim Hammer.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the Kim Hammer Show. I think you're going to enjoy the show today. We've got Tommy Land, who is the Commissioner of State Lands on. We're going to talk about what the Land Commissioner's Office does. Probably does more than what you realize. He may be one of the best kept secrets or one of the most not out there on the front, but we're about to put him on the front today on the Kim Hammer Show, and I think you're going to get a lot of good information out of Tommy, who is in studio today. And Tommy, thank you for driving all the way in from Heber Springs to being here today. And I know Jamie might have had a little something to do with that, getting to visit your daughter, which we all love, and your wife, just a great, solid family unit. So, and then about 12:45, going to be joined by John Vincent, who's the CEO of Arkansas Pharmacists Association. Actually, for the next 4 weeks at about 12:45 of my show, John is going to be on to give us an update about the vaccine and the progress that's going on around the state, where we are as far as which group is being vaccinated, and just all the information surrounding that. So if you want to get a live update each week, make sure that you tune in at 12:45, and we'll have John on for the last quarter of the hour. But first of all, we have in studio Tommy Land, Commissioner of the State Lands. And Tommy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kim. It's an honor to be with you.
Might pull that mic a little closer to there. All right. If you want to go up on the website while we're having this conversation, it's a really good website. You can go to www.COSL, that's Commissioner of State Lands, COSL.org. And Tommy, I was asking you, got a .org. Most all the other ones have .gov. Why is it we've got .org behind the Commissioner of Lands?
All the software that our office runs was developed in-house. So we used a .org. That happened several years ago, and they used a .org account. And so that's basically the story behind it.
Okay. And a lot of people don't know that this was your first run for a political office. You'd never run for an office before?
That's correct. Never held office before, and helped others get elected and everything. But this was an area that I felt like I could serve in, that I had experience that would lend some help and perhaps bring some efficiency to the office.
Okay. And so you didn't change your name to run for the office, right? I mean, I know you've been asked that a lot of times, but
I was born for this job.
you were born. Yeah, yeah. You got the right name for the job, let me tell you.
Thank you.
So tell us, just kind of start off with the 100,000-foot view of what the Commissioner of State Lands does and what all's under your purview.
Okay. Well, just give a little bit of a civics lesson. In Arkansas, you have 7 constitutional offices. Those offices are Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, Auditor of State, Treasurer of State, and Commissioner of State Lands. And those 7 offices serve a 4-year term, and they have 2-term limit, so you can serve twice. The Commissioner of State Lands, most likely the biggest job that we have is we deal with all the tax delinquent property in the state of Arkansas. And just to give you a little bit of a timeline about how that occurs, when property becomes tax delinquent on your county level, your county collector notifies the property owners and let them know, hey, you're delinquent, you need to come in and pay your taxes. And they keep the property for about 2 years. At the end of that 2-year period, the collector certifies it, or the county certifies it to my office. And my office keeps it for about 2 years. We send out letters of notification telling the property owner that, you need to come in and pay your taxes, or, eventually we're going to end up auctioning that property off. And we spend a lot of time and effort doing all the research we can to try to find heirs of the property owner or other interested parties that may be involved with the property. So we spend a lot of effort and research trying to find someone to notify to get them to come in and redeem their property. And so at the end of that 4-year period, and it'll probably be 4.5 to 5 years, if no one's come in and redeemed that property, then we hold an auction. And we normally hold an auction in every county in the state every year. Now, this past year was an exception because of COVID. We weren't able to hold our auctions because of the restrictions on the number of people that could gather in a place. And so we weren't able to hold the auctions this year, or last year, I'm sorry. And But that's the major part of it. Now, if that property does not sell at the auction, and there often are pieces that don't sell, it still remains in our office, and it's for sale in something called post-auction sales. Now, last time I checked, I believe we had about 17,000 post-auction parcels. That's parcels that have gone through the auction. No one purchased them. They're still tax delinquent, and they're in our office, and they are still for sale. And the minimum price that we can accept for those parcels the first 2 years after the auction are the taxes, the penalties, and the interest. And also at the auction, that is the minimum bid, taxes, penalties, and interest. Now, we collect those taxes and interest, and we return those to each county. Property here in Pulaski County or Saline County or Cleburne County, where I'm from, that property comes to auction. When we sell it at auction, we return those taxes, we return the interest to the county. That helps pay for K through 12 education, county roads, sheriff's department. We make sure that we do the best that we can to get that property out in the hands of the public and get it sold. That's one thing when I took office, and one of the things I wanted to concentrate on was this. When real estate is in the hands of the land commissioner's office, it's not doing anybody at all any good. It's not collecting taxes for your county. No one's able to make a profit for it. It's in my office. So that's something we have really worked to bring to the forefront and make sure that that property is sold, give everybody an opportunity to bid on it. We've done a good job so far.
So 17,000 parcels of post-auction, is that average, or are the numbers going up from year to year, or where are we as far as just across the board?
Okay. They have been going up. Now, this year, I think possibly because of the COVID situation and us not having auctions, we've sold, I believe it was about 8,000 parcels through post-auction sales. And so we've actually brought the number down this year, but it has gradually been creeping up. A lot of those parcels are lots in developments like Fairfield Bay, Cherokee Village, Hot Springs Village, and they're just lots that someone has purchased many years ago and perhaps planned to build a home there, and then their children moved out of state and they never got the opportunity and they passed away, and their children, just quit paying the taxes on it. And so some of those parcels are definitely good parcels. Some are in undeveloped sections of Fairfield Bay and things like that. But you can find some good buys there, and I think people have been doing a lot of research this year.
For an investor, because I do know some individuals, that's what they do. They watch for the choice pieces of property that come up, and kind of hard to imagine. It's almost like the storage war things. It's kind of hard for me to imagine that somebody'd walk away and leave a bag full of money in a locker and just forget about it. But have you been stunned since you've been in office as far as some of the properties that have just gone delinquent on taxes that maybe were choice pieces of property, or it's just a wide range of all over the board?
It is all over the board. There are some things. I remember my very first year and the first auction we had that year. I attended it. It was in Pope County, and if I remember correctly, there was a 40-acre parcel that went to auction, and I believe the taxes, penalties, and interest on that parcel was about $1,200 or $1,500, and it ended up going at auction for $42,000. Well, that's a little over $1,000 an acre. That's a pretty good price for 40 acres in Pope County. So some things have really surprised me. Now let me make you aware that the vast majority of parcels are not acreage parcels. Most of them are lots. There is some acreage parcels for sure, but you just get something you got to look into as we go into the auction season for this year. You'll see on our website, cosl.org, you'll see on our website a tab that says auctions, and you click on that auction, and you have a drop-down menu to find your county. You pull up the county that you're interested in, you click on that, and it'll show you all the properties that we have for auction this year. So
there used to be more under the Commissioner of State Lands in years past, and it seems like it's kind of been narrowed down to land,
Mhm.
but also you've got the riverways and some other things under your jurisdiction too. What are the other things other than land that's under your jurisdiction?
We we do take care of debris removal in navigable waterways in the state of Arkansas. Now, we have a very small budget for that, so we have to be pretty selective about what we do. But for instance, that's been 3 years ago, I believe now. Not sure if you recall it, but a a whirlpool opened up in the riverbed of the Spring River,
Hmm.
and a kayaker was drawn into that and drowned in the process. That was the Commissioner of State Lands' uh, responsibility to resolve that, and we worked with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission and ADEQ, and basically what we did was we took a track hoe up there, walked it into the river, and collapsed the top of the channel so that it was no longer a whirlpool, and resolved that issue. And we've resolved other issues as far as debris, man-made debris, and things like that. We do have a link on our webpage, and that's it's called a river debris webpage, and you can click on that. And if you have see an issue that you believe we need to take a look at, you can pin that location, and whatever notations or information you want to give us, we'll go out there, we'll take a look at it. When we take a look at it, what we'll do is we'll put notes on that webpage so that anytime you need to go and take a look at it, see on the webpage, see what we've done, you'll be able to see that. If it is something that we're responsible for and something we can take care of, then when we have locate a vendor to do the job, we'll let you know when the debris is going to be removed, and you'll have all the information about that issue and how we're taking care of it and the end result of it. So that's something new that we've just done this year, is that river debris webpage.
Back on the auctioning of the land, at what point is a person no longer able to pay their back taxes? I know some people, on their property, some people wait to the last minute, some people try to get in there and get taken care of. But as far as the absolute drop dead time of which a person can go redeem their property that's been certified back over to the state, what time frame is that in?
You can redeem your property up to 10 business days after the auction. If it's sold at auction, then you have 10 business days after the auction, and we'll notify you if it sells at auction. You have 10 business days to come in and redeem that property. And of course, you can redeem it any time before that, for sure. Any time that you get the money, get the opportunity, you can come in. Actually, you don't even have to come into our office anymore. Now, this is something that really worked out good for us this year. We had to go through the legislature in 19, and we got permission to begin redemption online. So many times over the past years, Arkansas citizens would have to come into the office to take care of that matter. Now you can go online, and you can see there's a tab there that says property redemption. You click on that, and you can redeem the property from home. You can pay for it with a credit card or a debit card, and take care of that at any time. So we've tried to make that as easy and accessible to the public as we can.
What do you do when you have a piece of property that has been remitted back over to the state, but there's a mortgage against it? Or is that an issue that if a piece of property went so long that it got certified over to you, but there is a mortgage involved, how is that resolved as far as people purchasing it? Are they still responsible for paying the portion of the mortgage with that, or how does that all work out?
Most of the time, I can tell you, as far as mortgages are concerned, most of the time that property is foreclosed before it gets to our office. So that property doesn't even get to our office. But if it does come to our office and there is a mortgage that's involved, the Commissioner of State Lands, we don't collect mortgage payments. All we collect are real estate taxes. So if there's a mortgage on it, then the person who purchases the property is responsible to make sure that mortgage is taken care of, however.
All right. What about your online auction? Because you got something coming up on this. And by the way, you did announce your reelection, or that you're running for reelection the other day. So congratulations on
Thank you.
that. Does it seem like it's already been 2 years and it's time to run again to you?
No, it doesn't. I tell you, time has passed very quickly for me. And I would encourage everyone, if you have an opportunity, you can go to my website. That's Vote Land for Land.
Okay.
Easy to
Clever.
remember. And,
Yeah.
you can go to my website and take a look at that if you want more information about me personally. And I do appreciate the fact that the people of Arkansas have given me the opportunity to serve in this office. I really do enjoy this job. If you have an interest in real estate, this is a very interesting job. It sure is. And I appreciate what the state of Arkansas did electing me and giving me that opportunity. And I want to try to do it again for another 4 years. And I've got some things in mind that I want to see us accomplish over the rest of this first term and the next term. And I just want to tell you this too. The Commissioner of State Lands we have an outstanding staff.
You do.
Outstanding. We have people that have a lot of experience, they have a lot of knowledge. And one thing that I have focused on, and from a business perspective, I've always called it customer service. And I realize that you're a taxpayer, you're not a customer, so to speak. But one thing I focused on in our office is customer service. We have a call center that if you call into our office, these girls answer the phone. Let me tell you something, they are very knowledgeable. They are friendly. They are helpful. They really do focus on customer service, and that's what I've wanted.
Well, you've done a good job because
Thank you.
I haven't heard anybody say they hadn't had a good experience. And when you're talking about taxes and somebody having to redeem their land and being at that time in life, you can deal with some pretty tense situations,
Yes.
and upset customers, as you say. But
Yeah.
you got a great reputation. All right. So you talked about things in mind you want to get done this term. So one of those is online auctions. Talk about that and how is that playing out, or how's that going to develop?
Okay. There is some legislation coming up this session that we're working on, and hopefully the legislature will be able to help us with that. We want to be able to go to online auctions. Right now, we have auctions. We hold auctions in all 75 counties. That involves a lot of travel expenses. We can save on those travel expenses, and also make this property, I believe, a little more available. We'll begin to have online auctions either the end of this year or the first of next year. It just all depends. We're working on the software to drive that, but we're going to be working on that. And I believe it's going to be a great help to not only our office, but also to the citizens of Arkansas. And in this sort of pandemic situation that we're in right now, we've been unable to hold auctions. And there's a good possibility that we won't be able to hold a public auction in 21 either. That'll be 2 years, no auctions. And remember, that money goes back to your county to pay for K through 12 education, county roads, sheriff's department. So that's why it's important, I believe, that we get this passed and get it in action.
Will that replace the auctions at the courthouse, or it'll just be another feature? Do you ever see going back to the auctions at the courthouse like you used to do?
To be honest with you, I think that we will probably stay with online auctions. I think it will be very popular. The one thing about the auction in the county is it was a one-day auction. Our online auctions, we're planning to last at least 30 days. So you'll be able to go in and make multiple bids as time goes on, be able to see where it's going, and be able to do some research during that 30-day period before you make your final bid.
Yeah, the landscape of auctions has changed significantly.
Yes, it has.
I like to go to auctions myself, and but it's changed significantly with with the COVID, and in some ways, I think those that probably do it for a living are, as far as those that are looking to buy equipment, they go around and buy land for a living, or they buy equipment, is certainly expanded the opportunity for them to be in multiple places at one time and still be sitting at their desk and get that done.
That's correct.
What about minerals? I notice also under your website, you've got the responsibility for minerals in the state.
Yes, we have a couple of more things that we deal with in our office. Mineral rights that belong to the state of Arkansas. We oversee the agreements on those mineral rights. We oversee the collection of the monies, and I tell you that's something that that has really surprised me over the first 2 years is just how much involved we are. I didn't realize this until I began researching the Commissioner of State Lands office, but the land under a navigable river belongs to the state of Arkansas. The mineral rights on that property under a navigable river belong to the state of Arkansas. All the property between underneath the Arkansas River from the Mississippi all the way to Oklahoma, those mineral rights belong to the state of Arkansas. And we have several sand and gravel projects that are going on in the river, in Arkansas River, and some in the Red River. And we oversee those agreements and collect those monies.
So like when you've got a sand and gravel operation in the river, how does that play out for Arkansans? A private company will be doing the actual removal of sand and gravel, but where does the state of Arkansas benefit if that's, our property underneath there?
Mm-hmm. Okay. When a sand and gravel operation wants to remove sand and gravel from a navigable river, then what they do is they contact our office, and we open that up for bid, and they're welcome to make a bid on it. So they bid on how much they'll pay per ton, say for instance, of sand, and per ton of gravel. And then as they remove the gravel, they keep records and keep track of how much gravel and sand they remove, and then they pay us. And then what we do is we take that money and make sure that everything's correct and that the amount's correct, and we send that money on to the Treasury, Arkansas Treasury. So one way that you see that benefiting the people of Arkansas is this. Hopefully, that will help hold down taxes. If we're making money off of minerals, then hopefully we won't have to tax Arkansas citizens to provide the services that we're providing.
So let me ask you, if you sell some of this property, because I am looking at your website where we're talking about that, and I'm looking at my county, and there's one particular development that has a huge amount of property that's on the books.
Yes, sir.
The mineral rights, do they automatically convey over with the property? Because I know sometimes, people got into this up there in the, in the Fayetteville shale area, where people bought land, but they didn't realize they didn't get the mineral rights with it because companies have bought that up over the years. So how does that all interact with the property that you've got for sale? Do the mineral rights automatically convey with that? Or what if somebody else owns the mineral rights, but you're selling the land?
If the mineral rights are severed, in other words, perhaps I sell the mineral rights to someone, okay, and then later on become tax delinquent. When you purchase the property, you don't get the mineral rights because they're severed from the property. Now, I tell you, we also handle tax delinquent mineral rights in our office. And let me tell you something that is, I'll just tell you, mineral rights in the state of Arkansas are a very confusing, a very complicated situation. And we do have tax delinquent minerals. If I remember correctly, I think we have somewhere around 12 to 15,000 tax delinquent mineral parcels. And that's something that I hope to work on. If the people of Arkansas give me a second term, that's something I hope to work on then.
So you could be selling a piece of property and the tax delinquent on the minerals be two totally separate things, or in some cases they're actually combined.
Yes, some cases they'll be combined. I can tell you this. If you live in an area that has what we call producing minerals, in other words, there are active wells, okay? Those are only producing minerals are taxed. If you're not getting a royalty check, then you're not being taxed for your minerals. But it's the counties, like for instance, the county I live in, Cleburne County, we're the second largest gas producing county in the state, and there are a lot of producing minerals in my county. And not many of them are redeemed once they go tax delinquent.
I could think of it, and tell me if this is a legitimate concern or not. You own some of this property, or maybe the property you own. You've sold off the mineral rights, and then somebody else buys those mineral rights, and they can come in and pretty much, do what they want to do on your property because they own the mineral rights when it comes to maybe getting natural gas off or whatever minerals it is that they want. Is that a correct assumption, or is it?
Yeah. You know, of course, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice.
Yeah, we're not giving legal advice
Right,
on the show.
right. But the thing is this, if you own a piece of property, you own the surface rights, regardless of who owns the mineral rights. And to the best of my knowledge, okay, I don't believe a person can come in if they own the mineral rights and do anything on your property without your express agreement, because you own the surface rights.
All right. We got Tommy Land, who is the Commissioner of State Lands on, who is up for re-election. Congratulations. And you've done a great job, and hopefully the citizens will let you continue to do a great job for that matter, too. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a couple minutes. We're going to finish up a couple other topics with Tommy Land, the Commissioner of State Lands. And then about 12:45, we're going to have John Vincent calling in, who is the CEO of the Arkansas Pharmacists Association. We're going to get an update on the vaccine distribution and how that's going, and just get some real-time numbers and give you an update on that. So come back to the Kim Hammer Show in a couple minutes. We'll pick up our conversation.
Take The Answer with you anywhere with our free mobile app. 1011fmtheanswer.com. Your smart speakers, iHeart, or radio.com. Breaking news and stimulating talk. 101.1 FM. The Answer.
This week in the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt, brought to you in partnership with the Pepperdine Graduate School of Public Policy. The impeachment of citizen Donald Trump.
I think it is petty and vindictive on the Democrats' part, and I think they're engaged in political retribution.
Join us for our program. Sign up for our podcast at townhallreview.com.
Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt. Saturdays at 7 a.m. on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
Maxwell, he was a runaway to rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she says it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I have been listening to these Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10, and the Dynavite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
Your business is ready for a reboot, a recharge. The way our companies operate has changed. Adapting to the changes hasn't been easy, but never more important to succeed. Many of the digital resources available have helped overcome obstacles your business is facing. But are you using the full potential of every one of them? That's where Salem Surround can help. Your business needs to use digital tools more than ever to stay in touch with customers who are making buying decisions for the new year. Will they consider or even know about you? The marketing team at Salem Surround gives you the tools needed to stand out and be visible to current and potential customers online right now looking for what you do. We'll design a plan that targets and surrounds customers with proven marketing strategies. Contact Salem Surround for a free evaluation of your marketing plan and see how we can help place your advertising message in front of today's consumers. Learn more at surroundlittlerock.com. surroundlittlerock.com, connecting you with new customers.
Welcome back to the Kim Hammer Show. We have with us the Commissioner of State Lands, Tommy Land, great last name for the job, and he is up for re-election. And then remember at 12:45-ish, we're going to be joined by John Vincent, the CEO of the Arkansas Pharmacists Association, to talk about the distribution and where we are in the vaccine numbers and how we're doing in the distribution. All right, so Tommy, let's pick it back up, and I want to ask you about one thing. We'll move on to a couple new topics. I was looking over the website, looking at some of the counties that, you know, may have large developments in them, and there's some pretty good list of properties that taxes are due. Does that, if that's like in a POA, are you collecting the back POA fees also, or are those separate, or what's included in a situation like that?
Okay. By law, all we're allowed to collect are property, real estate taxes, penalties, and interest. So we can't collect special improvement district fees. We can't collect POA fees, and those things will be considered to be, I'll use this term to explain, those would be like a lien on the property. We don't collect those liens. All we do is collect real estate taxes.
So if I buy a piece of property, how do I know, if I say I want to buy a piece of property and I go up here and I buy one at auction, how do I know what the hidden surprises are out there so that I don't buy the property and then I inherit a big debt against it, or like if there is a mortgage against it? How do you, as a commissioner, help me as the consumer know that so I don't buy a pig in the poke, so to say?
Correct. Okay. First of all, before we hold the auction, the very first announcement we make is we warn everybody you need to do research. One thing you need to realize is Arkansas is what's called a buyer beware state. And what that means is it's the buyer's responsibility to know what he's buying. Okay? And but what we do is we do a lot of research on the property. And if you look at a parcel that's going to be in the auction or that's in post-auction sales, if you look at that parcel and click on it, you'll see a section there where it says interested parties. And interested parties could be a bank, could be an individual, somebody that's got a lien on the property. It could be a property owner association, but you'll see a notification in there. And we do the research that we can do. We do it to the extent that we can do. It doesn't mean you have clear title, okay? But we do the research that we can do to try to let everyone know that there are possibly liens, mortgages, issues that need to be dealt with after you purchase the property.
Okay. You've got a history and archives tab on your website. What does that involve and what's that about?
Oh, I tell you, to me, it's the smallest part of our office, but to me, it really and truly is the most interesting. We have historical records in our office dealing with real estate. For instance, we have the original survey notes of the surveyor of the Louisiana Purchase in our office. Now most people don't really, when you think about Louisiana Purchase, you think Louisiana, correct? Actually, the survey started in southeast Arkansas, Phillips County. We have a very small state park down there called the Louisiana Purchase State Park. And just a parking lot, and there's an elevated walkway going out through this swamp. And you follow the elevated walkway to the end, and there's a granite monument sitting at the end of that. And that is the corner point for the Louisiana Purchase. In fact, here in Little Rock, Baseline Road is the baseline of the Louisiana Purchase. So that's some interesting history. But we have the original plat maps of all the cities in the state. And so a lot of times surveyors will actually come into our office and do some research from our historical records to try to help them make sure that they know what parcel they're supposed to be dealing with. And one of the things that's kind of neat about the Louisiana Purchase State Park is this. A few years ago, they took GPS technology and satellite imagery, and they wanted to determine just how close that monument was to the true corner of the Louisiana Purchase. Now, understand the survey was done in 1830 with very primitive equipment in the middle of a swamp, okay? That monument is 2 inches off. Is that not amazing?
They're smarter than we give them credit for.
Oh, I tell you, every time I think about that, it just is amazing. And it just shows you what a person can do if they'll work hard and pay attention to detail.
Are you sure the grand monument is 2 inches off, or is it the GPS that's 2 inches off?
That's possible right there. Sure is.
We want to give credit to the old timers. What about surveyors used to be under you, didn't they, in your office?
Yes, they did. Several years ago, surveyors were under the Land Commissioner's office. Some point in time, I'm not sure exactly when, but at some point in time in the past, they were taken underneath our responsibility. And Land Commissioner's office originally started out as the office that created deeds when the federal government passed property over to private citizens. Back in the old days, the federal government owned the property, and you came up and you staked out a piece of property, and then you went to the county courthouse and you registered your property. Okay, that was the Land Commissioner's office that created that deed for you back in those days. So that was our original job duty. And of course, over the years, things have changed, and federal government doesn't exchange property much anymore with private citizens. So That's not much. That's not our really in our job description now, but that's what the original purpose of the office was.
Okay. I want to ask you about parcel mapping, but had somebody text me a question I wanted to ask you about. So if you're responsible for the waterways and water debris, if I'm boating down the river and I come upon a big old tree that's floating down, or maybe I come up on a sandbar that's underneath the water, I think a lot of times game and fish are the ones that get called because people automatically think that that's under their responsibility.
Yeah.
Their responsibility, or is that your responsibility? Who is it that people should be calling?
Okay. One thing you have to keep in mind is this: some of that responsibility is going to lie with the Corps of Engineers because it's a Corps of Engineer. They have the responsibility for maintaining that channel or whatever. So some of it would be Corps of Engineer. If it's a game and fish lake, then it would be the game and fish. So it all depends on who manages that piece of property. But what you can do is you can go to that website and you can go to that river debris reporting page and you can report it to us. And if we investigate and we determine, well, that belongs to the game and fish, and we'll notify the game and fish. We'll notify you that we let them know about the problem or whoever, Corps of Engineers or whoever. So we'll try to help out on that kind of a situation. We just take care of the things that the law says that we're responsible for, and then we try to notify, pass the word along to anyone else.
All right. One other thing on the waterways. So like one of the things that makes Arkansas attractive is the Arkansas River because of the ability to move barge traffic up and down the river.
Correct.
White River the same way. So when it comes to dredging out the rivers in order to get the channels to the level that they need to be so that we can recruit industry into the state, Little Rock River Port, down Pine Bluff, all these major places. Where is that on your radar screen? Where is that on your level of importance? And is that a Corps of Engineer responsibility, or does that fall under you?
That is a Corps of Engineer responsibility. That waterway is a federal water highway, and so that falls under the Corps of Engineers. But I can tell you anything that the Land Commissioner's Office can do to assist the Corps of Engineers in this, we're going to take that opportunity. That waterway is so important for the state of Arkansas and so many cities. We have a great opportunity there, and waterway shipping is some of the least expensive shipping we have, and anything we can do to help, we're gonna do our best to try to help.
Okay, talk about the parcel mapping that's on your website. What is that, and what's that all about?
Okay, that's something new that we've put on our website this year, and what that is that's a map, and you can zoom in on that map. You can zoom into your county. The property that belongs to the state of Arkansas, say for instance the Game and Fish Commission, Natural Heritage, Forestry Commission, we have those parcels, and I believe they're colored in green on that map. So if you want to look in your county and see what property the Forestry Commission owns in Saline County, then you can zoom in on your county and you'll see those parcels, and they'll be colored in green. You can click on that parcel and you can see who owns that property. A little parcel record card will come up that'll tell you that's owned by the Forestry Commission or Game and Fish or whoever. So you can see what property in the state of Arkansas is owned by the state of Arkansas. Now, we have just started putting post-auction property. We've just started putting that on that list, and I believe that property is blue. So you'll be able to look on that map, click on that map, you'll be able to zoom into your county, and you'll be able to see the parcels that are in our post-auction sales. And as we get closer to auction day, within 6 weeks of auction, we'll begin to put the parcels that are coming up for auction. So you'll be able to click on it, you'll be able to get some information on that parcel right there on that map.
Do you, I know this is maybe an unfair question to ask you without your laptop in front of you, but do you happen to know percentage-wise how much land is owned by the federal government, how much land is owned by foreign interest, and how much land is owned by those who maybe are out of state? I remember seeing an article come across about the amount of farmland that's actually owned by corporations, out of the area. Can you talk about that with, and I understand you don't have the benefit of your laptop in front of you, but to the best you can, what percentage of Arkansas is actually owned by people who don't even live in Arkansas?
Correct. I remember, I believe at one time I checked on the amount of property that was owned by the federal government, and I believe it was 4 to 6%. I don't hold me to that.
Okay.
I believe it's 4 to 6%. So really, not a huge amount is owned by the federal government. Especially when you look at Western states, most Western states, the vast majority of property that they own, that they have in their state, is owned by the federal government. Bureau of Land Management property, for instance. So we don't have a lot of property owned by the federal government. I tell you, as far as the percentage of property that's owned by people out of state, I wouldn't have the slightest idea. I know that as time has gone on, obviously more property is being purchased by people from out of state. I think specifically farm ground, because farm ground is important to America, and they recognize the value that's in it, and so they're purchasing that property. But I couldn't give you a guess.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to share? You're blessed to continue on for another 4 years after, which technically, you still got 2 years to go.
Correct.
We're starting out a long time ahead, but you got to, in politics. So, if you could continue your legacy, what would you want to see at the end of your 8 years that you've done?
Well, I tell you, one thing I would really like to see us do is I would like to see the state simplify some of the issues with mineral rights. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, no one in the Fayetteville Shale would have thought their mineral rights would have been worth anything. And then all of a sudden, guess what? They're very valuable. And as a property owner tries to navigate that mineral rights field, I can tell you there are a lot of things that are very confusing about it. I'd like to try to see the state simplify those things and make it a little easier for people to understand. And I can tell you, I know you have producers and they have an interest in those mineral rights. The thing is, we need to try to work out something that is agreeable to producers and to property owners, because without those producers, then we wouldn't have valuable mineral rights. So we need to work something out. I'd like to see that done. I'd like to see our office continue to be more transparent to the state of Arkansas, and I'd like us to be as efficient as we possibly can. If we are going to save tax dollars, so we need to tax people less, then one of the areas that we're going to have to work on is the efficiency of state government. The more efficient an office becomes, the less tax dollars it spends. And I think that's what we need to do, and that's what I'd like to do with our office.
Very good. You talked about mineral rights. A lot of people think about diamonds or natural gas because that's the latest, biggest thing that, has recently occurred. But I used to visit this lady, she's passed on, and she had 120 acres. Some of her mineral rights that she sold was to a gravel company that, had a large deposit of gravel in there. Right. And when you talk about mineral rights, it's more than just gold or diamonds or, natural gas. There's so much that's involved in it. So I commend you for making that a priority item with you. Anything else you want to share with the listening audience?
Oh, I think that's good. Again, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and the opportunity to be here and talk to Arkansans. I assure you this, Arkansas, we're working hard in the Land Commissioner's office, and we're going to focus on efficiency and customer service. Thank you.
Very good. All right. That's Tommy Land, Commissioner of State Lands. Been doing an excellent job, and announced the other day that he's up for re-election. And so best of luck to you. And I know we'll be talking in the future because we're in the middle of legislative session. So you got some things coming down the line. All right. Moving on now. We've got John Vincent, who is the CEO of the Arkansas Pharmacists Association. John, thanks for taking time out to be on the Kim Hammer Show this afternoon. Wanted to talk to you about where we are with the vaccine distribution and just give us an update of where we are.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kim. Thank you for having me on today. John Vincent with the Arkansas Pharmacists Association. This particular week that's coming up, our state is getting an increase in the allocation of the total amount of doses of vaccine. So that's some positive news. We're getting about 6,000, a little bit less than that, but almost 6,000 extra vaccine doses from the manufacturer Moderna. And Moderna is the vaccine that does not require the ultra cold freezer storage. It's easier to handle. It comes in lower quantities per package. So that's really good news for the rural areas of our state and some of the underserved locations.
How many doses so far have we gotten in the state?
So the state has now surpassed 500,000 doses that have been received. Some of those doses, though, are not for first patients or for first use. A significant amount of those are sent in that booster dose, the second dose. And that second dose is very important because after the second dose, that's when you get the 100% effectiveness at preventing death. So the whole purpose of doing this is to not only prevent the spread of the virus and get our nation back open, our economy ramped back up to the way it should be, and allow us to be able to travel and have weddings and see our family without fear of infection from the virus, but more importantly, to prevent the most significant, most severe side effects of that virus, and that is severe disease and death. And so we've received more than 500,000 doses. Our state is consistently over the last 2 weeks, Kim, ranked in the top 15, and in some cases top 10. I know a few days ago we were as high as 6th place in the nation in terms of first doses given. So even though there's plenty of challenges to overcome and opportunities to get better, our state is doing relatively well compared to other states.
Let me go back and clarify something. You said 500,000. Is that the first doses, or is that a combination of first and second doses?
It's a combination of first and second doses. I know that the Department of Health is working really hard to bring more transparency and clarity to how many of those are first doses and how many of them are second doses. But right now, we just don't have a perfect exact count of how many of those are first and how many are second at the public level. Okay.
And as far as the tier system, what populations have been given the vaccine so far? Because I know there was, like a column A, B, C, D. Which populations have been given them so far?
Right. And so I do have those exact numbers now, by the way. So total doses received, 519,800. That includes both the federal allocation and the state. One piece of good news is in that federal allocation through Walgreens and CVS. Walgreens and CVS did have 11,000 doses this week that they were able to use, and to start using those for patients over 70 and educators and any health workers that are still not vaccinated. So those are the three categories. There are pre-K, K through 12, and higher ed, plus patients 70 and over as part of 1B. Our state has not moved yet to postal workers and attorneys and other essential workers, agriculture, U.S. Postal Service. We'll see that within, probably sometime in March. I hope it's sooner based on that allocation and folks getting vaccinated. But that part of 1B has not started yet. It's 70 years of old and older Arkansans, education workers, including K-12, childcare, and higher ed, or universities and colleges, and then also any of our health workers that, for whatever reason, have not been vaccinated yet.
Let me ask you, I've gotten several calls this week, like one that I got, I think this morning or yesterday. I'm 79 years old. Where do I go get my shot? What do you do for the person that's in the 70 and up that you mentioned a while ago, but hasn't gotten their shot. Why would they have not gotten their shot? Is it just a matter of the dosages not coming down, or they just don't know where to go, or what can you give in the way of direction on that?
So there are many hospitals around the state, as well as about 240 community pharmacies that are around the state that have the vaccine, plus these additional Walgreens and CVS locations this week, which there are about 100 of those as well that had vaccine this week. All of those locations are published on the Arkansas Department of Health website at healthyarkansas.gov or healthy.arkansas.gov, excuse me. And then we also, for the pharmacies, publish those on arrx.org on our website to show where those locations are. And they're made available both by county, by city, and by alphabetical order to help drive and provide that transparency and information. One of the probably most frustrating things for patients over 70 is a lot of the pharmacies and hospitals are booking appointments online with a scheduling tool where you request an appointment online. They are still taking phone calls too, the old-fashioned way. It's not that they aren't taking phone calls. It's just that the phone calls have been overwhelming because there's only enough vaccine per week to vaccinate about 1 in 12 people over 70 each week, plus the educators. With the new allocation that has come in this week, from this week forward, that'll be more like 1 in 10 per week that may not have been vaccinated yet can be vaccinated. So it is going to take time. It's going to take patience, and it's going to take understanding that perspective for the limited amount of vaccine we have, that it may take a few weeks to get an appointment and to get that vaccine that you need to protect yourself.
So and that website was aarx.org, and tell me again what that was for.
Sure. It's actually ARRX, so there are 2 R's, okay. ARRX.org. And that's the Arkansas Pharmacists Association website that has the list of the pharmacies by alphabetical order, by city, and by county. There are also hospitals that are doing clinics. I know that Jefferson Regional Medical Center, I know that Baptist Health, I know that NEA Baptist up in Jonesboro will be getting doses next week, and they'll likely to be announcing clinics and open slots for people to get vaccinated. So there are a number of hospitals that also have access to the vaccine, and the Arkansas Department of Health also lists the vaccination locations on their website at healthy.arkansas.gov.
All right. I tell you what, I'm down to like a minute and a half. Let's do this. If you'll email me all of those websites you just mentioned, I'll get them up on the KimHammerShow.com website, and listening audience can go up to there and kind of have a one-stop does it all. If you wouldn't mind sending that to me, and that'll be the KimHammerShow.com website, and we'll get that put up there. Real quick, in 30 seconds or less. So if I'm a person wanting to get a vaccine, do I just work with my local pharmacist, or they can go up here? Because I know one thing that was said was about multiple, being signed up at multiple spots. What does that person need to do? Just stick loyally with their local pharmacist, or what do they need to do?
My best advice is stick loyally with their local pharmacist, but also be willing to sign up if there is an event. So if there's a big event where there's a lot of vaccines that come into a county, like I know that the health department, as part of their plan, has been identifying. There were 16 counties this week that had less than 4% of the population vaccinated versus some of our larger population areas that had big hospitals had larger percentages of the county vaccinated. So I know target areas like Jefferson County, for example, had a big event.
Okay.
Drew County is going to have some events this week. So don't be afraid to go to those.
All right, I got to go, but if you'll send that to me, I'll get that up on my website. If you know where those big events are, you can go to KimHammerShow.com, and that way you can know where they are. Thanks for listening. We'll have John back on next week to give another update and expanded time. Thanks for listening to the Kim Hammer Show.
101.1 FM. The Answer. KDXE FM. Kamak Village, Little Rock. A Salem Media Group station. 101.1 FM.